We heard of so many stories of artists chugging a whole bottle of liquor before they go on. Why? Because they're anxious or they smoke so much weed that they forget their headphones showing up. And like,
So
but the old me, I used to a bunch of cocaine and alcohol. That puts me in a good state of being to play 118 BPM opening music. I'm just like, and I usually don't like smoke right before I get on, but I definitely use that to relax. I drink green tea and I meditate. It is an important topic that we mentioned, and that is performance anxiety as a DJ or live electronic music performer, whatever is your cup of tea. To start this off, Kevin is actually scheduled in a couple months to play a pretty big show. We just can't announce who he's playing with, but I would have to assume it is one of your biggest gigs in terms of playing support
yeah.
for this. And how do you feel? How do you feel?
I'm still at a loss for words, to be honest, and I'm still processing the whole thing, and I'm very anxious about the whole thing. It's just, especially when you're kind of like nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden this huge thing happens, and you're just kind of like, whoa. So, and then it's just a
Right.
lot to handle. So, yeah, very anxious for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And but it's a couple months out right now, so I can't imagine how you're gonna feel once it's a couple weeks, once it's a couple days and stuff. And how do you actually? I mean, I guess we'll start the question with you. How do you plan on easing yourself in? I mean, because you're gonna have to play and you're gonna have to show up and like do a good job. I mean,
Absolutely.
not to add in more anxiety towards you, but those are the basic expectations of anyone
Or-
performing a gig. And I guess just want to ask you, how are you preparing it? And then we can obviously share an insight in terms of how we used to prepare for all of our shows.
I'm pretty much trying to take it a step at a time right now, and then just real thinking about who I'm playing for, what type of music I'll be playing, and then trying to find tracks slowly but surely, and then just kind of breaking everything down to be more very methodical. Usually, because I've never played at this professional level before, where it's just kind of like big opener, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of just like, oh, I can just play it however I feel, and I'll just play to the crowd. And if I'm an opener, I'll play this type of thing. But this time it's kind of like, no, I need to really make sure I'm on point. So like I'm trying to like get everything ready and then just like have pretty much every possible scenario ready to go in top of my head. I don't know if that's the best thing to do, because maybe that'll psych
What,
myself
over
up. But that's why I
preparing?
listen to you guys. Yeah, that's the thing. Can you over prepare? That's is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Or what should I do to like what's under preparing? That's another thing I want to know. Like that's not enough. Like you need to do more or something.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know if Gino want to answer first or
I don't know if there really is a right answer to that because there's been like times where I wouldn't prepare at all, at
Okay.
all. I just walked in not knowing what was going to happen, and it was felt like the best set I did.
but is that the beginning
And
of your DJing? Like when you first started DJing out in public gigs, you would just walk in like that, or is that later?
no,
Exactly.
no,
So let's
that
bring it
was
to the
like
context of like, yo, this is your first real gigs playing with real
well,
headliners.
then what I would, as far as opening and my tips for that, I guess somebody would be a obviously play for the crowd, but ease into the whole night. Like the BPM. Like I don't know. We have a really big pride at Stereo with our openers because we really feel like the owners of Stereo are very particular on how people open. And for example, like Ostrich was one of the people who taught me how to open, and he opens with like 100 BPM, like atmospheric sounds, like almost like spa sounds that turns into like these jungle drums. Then they're going to breaks, and it slowly builds. And as more people come in, the night gets a little bit faster. It gets a little bit more energy, but it will stagger along if people don't come in. So it's very hard to prepare yourself, not knowing when the crowd is coming in, at what time, how early. But it has to be an exchange of energy between the artist and the crowd, right? And a lot of places, when I play in a lot of other places, I come in and the opener is playing 128 BPM, like so and loud. And there's like, another thing to consider as well is as an opening DJ, if they're selling drinks, people aren't going to want to have drinks when it's blaring and they're sober trying to have a drink. They're going to go outside for a cigarette. But if you play at a low volume and a calm and you let them drink and they start to get a little bit drunk and you start to bring it in, it's this whole conversation of energy between the two and things will grow really nicely. So as far as preparing, I'll have something in mind that I want to go, but you have to remember that it might not go in the direction you want it to go.
Sure.
So I like to, like, in a sense, I guess, over prepare. I like to prepare in a way, in a direction I want to go, but I'm ready to just, wing it if I have to.
Yeah. Look, and I have to add to this. I mean, thank you for bringing it back that over preparing is good. I'm here to just say over preparing for anything is a good thing. I mean, that's just, you got to plan and stuff. And I think to add a bit on that, what I would used to do is I would actually, prepare my tracks and whatnot, but I would know that, okay, around this time is about when I'm about an hour in. I'm going to have 7 tracks that could take me in either direction. If the crowds don't show up, I have the 7 that would just keep it. Or, hey, it's actually getting really busy. You know what? It's time to turn the energy up a little bit,
Sure,
so they're having fun. And the idea then, part of over preparing is anticipating as well. Right. So there's 2 parts that I anticipate, the middle part and how I'm going to end. And the way that I usually end is to make sure that we leave it in a neutral ground for the headliner or whoever it is that you're opening next. And it's up to them to either maintain the same, bring it down, or bring it up, depending where they are and the context of it. So in order to beat anxiety, take action. Make sure you practice. If you don't have your own setup at home, there are many studios out there. I forgot the name of it's a really popular one. Sound Lab? No, it's not Sound Lab. It's the one that everyone goes to here in LA. And there's also one in London. It's at the tip of my tongue. Something studios, but you can rent by the hour, $20 an hour, and they give you the whole setup with a nice booth, and you can like jam your music like loud. You also want to prepare for that because you've never heard your music, like the music you collect and the music you make at that level in the monitor. Like I remember the first time I played in a big club at Exchange, I actually like turned the whole volume down. I mean, there was nobody there to make sure that was a track coming out because I'm like, I don't recognize this bass line because it's so. It's not the same as your headphone. It doesn't matter if when it's coming out of a Function One speaker blasting, that is the part that you have to prepare for because the music won't even sound the same.
So just having like the CDJs and the mixer isn't enough. You actually have to get a place where you can legit hear with massive stereos.
Especially if it's your first time playing in a loud system. I think so because you want to get used to that thump. It is really loud on the booth as well. So anticipate for that. And also make sure you know your configurations for it. Assuming that you're not the opener anymore, assuming that you're going in, this is like an anxiety, right? I mean, why do artists bring tour managers along with? Some of them is so that they can go and help them set up everything. So that the moment they get on, they don't have to deal with that stress and anxiety of like, dude, is the cue point this? Is the effects there? Is the channels? Depending on the zone, is the filter, that little button that goes left or right of it. There's all those things that you have to come in knowing like how you want to get it set up. So that is for later down the road when you're coming in playing the middle slots. Yeah. That's one way to kind of ease up your anxiety. Guess if I have to share my own experience, I was a bedroom DJ for 3 years. Nobody booked me for 3 years. It's like back in the day, I was really terrible at networking, even though I had CDs to give out and all that stuff. And so what eased a lot of my anxiety was, dude, I was ready. By the time I went on the decks, I mean, I played in every scenario at home. I played a lot of after parties. I played at events where they actually had loud speakers. And, I think what beats anxiety is taking action towards that. What are you anxious about? My DJ set. Then go DJ. Go DJ until that anxiety is out of you, right? Because that's essentially what anxiety is. We're fearful of something or we're like, very not, what's that word? We're either passive, regressive, or like we're scared of that thing. That's what anxiety is. Like, it's here, but I don't want to face it. And the more you go face it head on, that is one way, because we heard of so many stories of artists chugging a whole bottle of liquor before they go on. Why? Because they're anxious, or they smoke so much weed that they forget their headphones showing up. And like, I've dealt with them as a promoter. Like, what's going on? Oh yeah, I just get really nervous before a gig and show. And it's like, okay, I mean, I understand, I could relate, but you have to make sure you prepare for that moment. Gino, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
I just started taking CBD before my shows, and that was it. I really mean it. To the point where now, like, as soon as I land, they're like, "You need anything?" I'm like, "Just CBD." I'm like, if it's legal in your state, please hook it up, and that's it. And
yeah,
I don't know if it's placebo or not, but I'm telling you, it's amazing. I take it before my set, and I just go in so easy. Before that, I'd be so nervous. I would always turn to the bottle. And to the point where when I stopped with the alcohol, I would need a bottle of water in my hand. because I felt like it took the focus off of me and onto because for me and one more thing is that for me, I'm never nervous until half an hour before. I'm not nervous the day before. I'm not nervous the day of. Literally half an hour before is when it happens.
It's interesting. I'm the complete opposite. I'm like nervous the night before, the day before that I need to like hype myself up. It's kind of like it's kind of scary. It's like this basketball player just like said to relax. You're just gonna go play a 90-minute set. But that's how I channel it. And for me, I'm extremely calm when I go into the situation because it's almost like can't believe this is real. And like you shouldn't be freaking out because this is everything you worked towards. This is everything you wanted. So go take the moment. And I'll have to say I smoke weed. It helps a lot. Shout out to Stizzy. They're actually they hooked me up with some smokes before the gig. I don't get too blasted. And I usually don't like smoke right before I get on, but I definitely use that to relax. I drink green tea and I meditate. But the old me, I used to a bunch of cocaine and alcohol. That puts me in a good state of being. To play 118 BPM opening music, I'm just like, where's everyone showing up?
So like as you guys went on, because I mean, it sounds like you guys, it's what you're saying is that the nerves are just going to be there. As you guys have had more experience, playing, touring and everything like that, has your nerves gone down a little bit at all? Or is it just kind of like, that's just something you have to deal with? Or is it always just going to be there?
For me, yeah. Except recently, I don't know, maybe it's weird. Maybe it's like reverse psychology for me. I was more nervous when I would play on Tractor. When I switched over to CDJs, I got way less nervous. But at the same time, I also switched over and started doing the CBD. And I think that gave me a nice mindset because lately I haven't been getting that nervous. So, but I think it's always there. I think it's also a sense of just like, kind of like you care, you're like, what if they don't like my music? What if I have to do this? What if I don't play hard enough? What if I don't play too hard? What if, like those.
Yeah, that's overthinking though. Well, I guess overthinking then leads to anxiety.
I think overthinking is like one of the major qualities of an artist. No matter what art you do, whether you paint or you produce or anything, I see it in all my students. It's the number. Like, for example, I always say that my biggest strength in production is how I don't overthink. Because every other producer does. They finish the track and they go hours past when it was done because they just overthink.
So why can't you apply that into DJing then as well? I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, it's
because I would say that I have more confidence in my production than I do in my DJing.
Well, then I would go ahead and say then go brush up your DJing skills where it matches your production. I mean, that's an artist map phase 1 thing as well. I mean, like, again, action. What are you anxious about? Oh, what if all this it's related to DJing? Then are you taking the actions to go face that anxiety head on, right? And I also want to ask, and this is not just to you, but to anyone that's watching who find this context, what are you anxious about? Are you anxious and nervous that no one's going to show up for your gig? Is that part of the anxiety? Or are you really anxious on the fact that like you're not going to play a good set or that you didn't prepare enough? Because if it's about playing a good set, you can take the action now, Kevin. Go DJ every Saturday or every free time you have. Just go DJ if that's what you're worried about. Now, if you're worried about, I did all this, and it's supposed to be a big party. People are supposed to show up halfway through my set. Is that because that is also part of the anxiety too. I know a lot of people freak out. A lot of artists freak out. Why aren't you showing up to my gig? Or and that becomes an added anxiety. It's not only you have to perform, then it's like, do people show up? Are people dancing? And I feel like those aspects you can't control.
Yeah. Those are the ones that I think worry most people is whether or not people are going to like the music they play. I think that's what it comes down to for me all the time. I mean, thankfully, I feel like every time I've played, I've been happy with it in the end. But prior, no matter how many times I have a successful set, it'll never shake the idea before I get on being like, well, they like the music I play. And just this constant phobia,
So you
think my door is locked every time I leave the house.
It's just like the artist life. I mean, that's a good point because you're right. Like a lot of artists are in their head a lot. And that's why we create things and they have a lot of ideas. Yeah. Our brains are constantly going. So
yeah, and that's why Artist Map exists, to get you guys out of your own heads. Seriously. I mean, look, thinking is a great thing. Think in the morning when you first wake up, that deep space that you have. Think about the actions you're going to take. Think about why you're anxious. Overthinking is not a bad thing, but when you're overthinking, like, oh, what are people going to think? Do they like my music? That's like non-productive overthinking.
Yeah.
Productive overthinking is, based on the context of my journey right now and all the connections, what networks should I continue to massage? overthink on that.
Yeah.
I just got this gig. What value can I provide to this promoter to ensure that, A, I perform my best, and B, he or she or they who is inviting me to play feels that I have done my job, that I've done everything I can. Overthink on that. Thinking about who's going to come or thinking if they're going to like your music when you've given your best. Let's get that out of everyone's head that's watching this right now. And I say this, dude, I get in my own head too. I mean, I talked about it. Like, we're about to go even crazier on content. I'm about to be showing up on Reels and TikTok on the 6 a.m. platform, not just mine. That gives me anxiety. But what am I doing to face it? I'm just right into it, and I'm not going to overthink it, because what overthinking did to me, what are my friends going to think? What are my closest people going to think? What's the industry going to think? And you know what it did to me? It just led me to do nothing with it until I said enough is enough. Give yourself permission to go do the damn thing. All right. Anything else you want to add in terms of anxiety?
No, just
anxiety and how to combat it. And you know what? I feel like maybe we do need to touch upon this a little bit more, because it is a very serious issue. People really do have, real medical disorders in terms of anxiety and all of that. And I do not want to downplay that at all whatsoever. It is a mental health issue, but at the same time, I'm also here to tell you that with the right support, with the right network, with the right mentors, with the right group of people, along with your willingness to get yourself out of your own head, you can get out of it and see a different path and see a different light. That's it. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of Artist Map and Faculty of Electronic Music YouTube and audio podcast series. I am Gio with 6 a.m. Artist Map.
Atroxx, Montreal Faculty of Electronic Music.
And I got Kevin here, content director at 6 a.m. and also SVS Techno. So.
Artist Map community manager.
And the Artist Map community manager. Sorry about that.
No. Hey, all good. I know, hey, being a new dad as well, I know that you're going off crazy sleep schedules and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, dude, I really appreciate you making the time and staying committed to these weekly videos. And we'll catch you on the next one. Be sure to subscribe. Check out all the links below. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.